Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Μια εργασία του Γιώργου Πιτροπογιαννάκη. Once upon a time, a king and queen lived in a big, beautiful castle in a land of make-believe. They had everything they wanted, everything except the one thing they wanted most, a child of their own. One day, as the queen was sitting at her window, watching the snow fall to the ground. "Oh, I do so wish I had a little girl, as white as snow, with cheeks as red as roses, and with hair as black as the window frame." Soon after, the queen had her wish. A little princess with hair as black as the window frame and cheeks as red as roses. Her skin was so like snow. She was named Snow White. There was joy and happiness everywhere, and everyone loved little Snow White. But soon after, the queen went away to Never Never Land. Several years later, the king took a new queen. The new queen was very beautiful to see, which made her very happy. Her greatest wish of all was to be the fairest in the land. Each day, she would stand before her magic mirror and ask the same question. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" "Oh, my queen, you are." This always made the queen happy, for she knew that the mirror spoke the truth. The years went by pleasantly. Snow White grew more beautiful each day. Everyone loved her, everyone except the queen. One day, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" "Queen, though you are of beauty rare, Snow White is by far more fair." At this, the queen flew into a terrible rage. "That miserable child! I will find a way to spoil her beauty." The wicked queen ordered Snow White to work in the palace kitchen, but no matter how hard Snow White worked, she grew still more beautiful. After several months in the kitchen, Snow White was made to scrub the palace floors. Finally, the queen was sure that Snow White could no longer be lovelier than she. "Mirror, mirror in the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" "Queen, though you are of beauty rare, Snow White is by far more fair." The queen could bear it no longer. The following morning, she called the royal huntsman before her. "Huntsman, I want you to take Snow White into the forest this afternoon and kill her." "Your Majesty, how can you ask this? She is so young and beautiful. Everyone loves her." "Don't you dare question my actions. I order you to do as I say. If you don't, you die." "I can do nothing but obey your Majesty." "Good. But so I can be sure you have obeyed me, bring me a sign of your deed." That afternoon, Snow White, the queen, has asked that I take you for a walk through the forest. How kind of her! I love the forest with all its beautiful flowers and tall trees and lovely little animals. Aren't these flowers beautiful? I shall pick some for the queen. I cannot harm her. I would rather die myself. The huntsman fell to his knees before her. There is something I must tell you. Why on your knees, dear huntsman? No one has to kneel before me. The queen did not mean for me to simply watch you play here in the forest. She ordered me to kill you. Oh, but I cannot do it. Run from here. Run away as far as you can. Never, never come near the palace again. Thanking the merciful huntsman for his kindness, Snow White turned and ran. The huntsman then killed a wild pig and brought its heart back to the queen. She thought it was Snow White's and was happy again. After leaving the huntsman, Snow White continued running deeper and deeper into the forest. Above her were thousands and thousands of leaves. About her were the huge trunks of hundreds and hundreds of trees. She kept running over jagged stones and through thorny bushes. She ran and ran all afternoon and on into the night. But finally she could run no more. Though terribly frightened, she lay down and fell into a deep sleep. In the morning, when she awoke, the sun was shining brightly and birds were singing. She rose and started to walk on. In a little while, she came to a brook where she washed her hands and face. After washing, Snow White continued on her way. She walked on and on, not knowing which way to go or what to do. Late that afternoon, she came to a clearing. There stood the prettiest little house she had ever seen. Snow White walked into the cottage. Nobody was inside. Everything there was so small, it looked just like a dollhouse. However, the food in the pot was grown up enough. Snow White was so hungry she ate it all. I hope the children who live here will forgive me. Then she walked up the stairs. What cute little beds! I would need all 7 upon which to sleep. Snow White lay down across the 7 tiny beds and was soon fast asleep. Meanwhile, the people who lived in the little cottage were hard at work. They were 7 little dwarfs who dug in the hills all day, searching for jewels and gold. When the sun went down, the tiny men stopped their work and started for home. They left their day's findings in a shoebox just outside the mine. Then they merrily marched over the hills to their home. Before they went into their house, the little men washed their hands and faces. Suddenly, one of the little dwarfs slipped and went splashing into the water.
That's what I call really washing up.
Let's get him out before he drowns.
Let's fish him out.
And that's exactly how the drenched dwarf was saved. After drying themselves, the dwarfs went into their house. Guess it's my turn to cook. I'll have the food ready as soon as I get the fire lit.
Look here, our food is gone.
That pot was full this morning.
Who could have eaten our food?
Nobody lives around here but us.
Well, somebody took our food. Maybe that somebody is still here. Maybe he's upstairs.
Come on, man, let's go up and see, but be quiet about it.
Don't light your lanterns until I give the word. Now! Look! Why, it's a little girl. How beautiful she is.
She is lovely enough to be a princess.
Let's not wake her. We can find out all about her in the morning.
Then the tiny men blew out their lights and went to sleep on the floor, each in front of his bed. The next morning, I slept through the whole night. I wonder where the children who live here are. Suddenly, 7 little heads popped up before Snow White's startled eyes.
Good morning, child. Don't be frightened.
We don't harm you.
My goodness, you are not children at all. You are little men. That's right. And who are you? I'm called Snow White, the princess. How did you ever find your way to our little house?
Snow White told them her story. When she had finished, they stood quietly for a few moments. Then,
do you think you could be our housekeeper?
Could you make our beds and wash our clothes?
Cook and knit and sew for us? Could you keep our house tidy and clean?
You can stay with us.
Well, keep you safe from the wicked queen.
And you shall have everything your heart desires.
Would you like to stay?
Oh, yes.
Now that
that's settled, let's go down and have some breakfast. And so Snow White stayed with the 7 dwarfs. She worked quite hard during the day, keeping house for the little men. But the hours after supper were always gay, and she was truly very happy. The dwarfs loved her dearly, so did all the animals of the forest. Each morning, before they left for their mine, the dwarfs warned Snow White about the queen.
She is not to be trusted. One of these days, she will find out you are here and will try to harm you. So be careful. Don't let anyone into the house.
The dwarfs were right. One day, the queen went before the magic mirror.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of us all?
Her name, Snow White, the fairest seen. She lives with the dwarfs in the forest green. The huntsman lied to me. Snow White still lives. The queen decided to take care of Snow White herself. Of course, the wicked queen was an expert in the art of witchcraft. She went down deep under the palace, into a room that no one else ever entered. There she prepared a magic potion and drank it down. The beautiful queen was instantly changed into an old, grey-haired lady. Then the queen looked through her book on poisons and found the one she wanted. Just one bite of the rosy side of this apple, and Snow White will fall into a deep sleep, and only true love's first kiss can awaken her. Soon I will again be the fairest in all the land. The queen left the palace through a secret door and hurried through the forest to the home of the 7 dwarfs. Late that afternoon, "Good child, would you care to buy my apples? They are fine and tasty." "I'm sorry, but I cannot let you in, nor can I buy anything." "That's all right. I can easily sell them elsewhere. Here, you may have one for nothing." "I cannot accept anything from strangers either." "There is nothing to be afraid of, my dear. I'll show you. I'll cut the apple in half and I'll eat half of it myself. You may have the nice rosy half. Oh no, this apple is truly delicious." Snow White's mouth was fairly watering for the luscious-looking fruit. When the queen took a big bite of her half of the apple, poor Snow White could no longer bear it. She took the other half and bit into it. She instantly fell to the floor and knew nothing more. The queen ran straight back to the palace. She drank another magic potion which restored her to her own natural self. Then she went before her magic mirror. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of us all?" "Oh, my queen, you are." Meanwhile, the dwarfs came home from their day's work. "That's strange. There is no light in the house."
And no smoke coming from the chimney.
"Come on, hurry. Something may be wrong with Snow White. Look! She isn't breathing. This must be the queen's doing." The 7 little men carried Snow White to the bed they had built for her. They did everything they could to bring her back to life, but nothing helped. "We have done all we could, alas. Snow White is lost to us forever. Yet she looks so fresh and rosy, one would think she was only asleep. Though we cannot wake her, we must watch over her and protect her from harm." So they made a beautiful casket of glass, so Snow White could be seen from every side. Then they carried the casket to the top of a nearby hill and rested it among the flowers and trees Snow White loved so well. All of Snow White's animal friends came and wept. From that day on, only 6 dwarfs went to work in the mine each day. One took his turn watching over Snow White, so that she was never alone. Months and years went by. All this time, one of the dwarfs was always near her as she lay sleeping in her casket, hoping she would soon awaken. Birds flew overhead and perched on the glass lid, singing sweetly. Then, one day, a handsome prince came riding up the hill toward where Snow White lay sleeping. "Tell me, sir, who is this beautiful maiden who sleeps thus in a glass casket?"
"She is the Princess Snow White. She was poisoned by the wicked queen many years ago."
"Many years ago? Why is she so beautiful and looks so fresh? I thought she was merely asleep. I have never seen anyone as lovely as she." "I tell you, sir, I have fallen in love with this sleeping beauty. May I kiss her rose-red lips?"
"Yes, gentle prince, you may.
You need only to raise the lid."
As Snow White's lips were touched with love's first kiss,
her eyes fluttered open, and she sat up as though she were awakening from a long sleep.
"What was happened? Why was I in that casket?"
The dwarf told Snow White all that had happened, and then ran off to call the other dwarfs. "I loved you the moment I saw you. Dear Snow White, will you be my wife?"
"Yes, dear Awakener."
The 7 dwarfs were overjoyed to find Snow White truly awake and going to marry the prince. They all started for the prince's castle. And what a grand wedding there was! All the people in the prince's land joined in the celebration, which lasted for days and days. It just so happened that on Snow White's wedding day, the wicked queen stood before her magic mirror.
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of us all?"
"Though you are of beauty rare, Snow White is by far more fair. She is now alive and well, standing happy 'neath a wedding bell." The queen became so furious, she went completely mad. She ran through the forest, never to be seen or heard of again. As for Snow White, the prince and the 7 dwarfs, they all lived happily ever after. The end.
Επιμέλεια Γιώργος Πιτροπογιαννάκης.